Hey my heathens, J4D3 here, Jade Olson, the Art Heathen, and what we got going on is my Inktober projects. So at the very beginning of this you saw my picture of Power Man, which was my first Inktober drawing that I did for 2017. And then I got an idea, which was inspired by the creator of Inktober, a guy named Jake Parker, who had a great YouTube video that was, you need a product, not a project. So I decided to do a product for Inktober. And there's still a couple more pictures I got to finish, and I still have to color this in, which I've got about, I don't know, maybe 50% of it colored. But it was, we'll go for a little history here. It's back in the day when my son was learning how to read. One of the things that I did to help him is I drew a kid's book, a children's book, called Sword and the Blue Dragon. My cat Sam's found some plastic he's digging around on. Anyways, this was pretty much kind of an avatar for my son, Raph, and it was about this little blue dragon and all the adventures he would go on. And what we would do is, like a Saturday night before he would go to sleep, we'd crawl into my big bed, because my wife would be up playing video games or whatever. And this happened during the winter when it was really cold out. And we'd crawl under the covers, which you'd call getting under the wings, because dragon wings, right? And we'd make up these stories about this little blue dragon and all the adventures he would go on. And some of them were pretty epic. You know, epic battles and rescues and fights and things like that. And there's a whole plethora of bad guys, and one of the main bad guys that was like the dragon's natural enemy were griffins. And to really get into the children's book side of it, I had to make him very simple, right? Because he was just his concepts of the written word hadn't caught up to his storytelling abilities. So the first one was a very simple story, and it was called Sword and the Apple Thieves. And the apple thieves were these griffins that were stealing apples, and from the dragons, of course. And Sword went and found them and burnt their butts because you know, 6-year-old boys find the idea of settling your problems with fire and burning your enemy's butts pretty funny. So anyways, that's kind of what I did here. Is I started redrawing all the illustrations for Sword and the Apple Thief and rewriting it also. And that's what I did for Inktober. Because I wanted to get past this idea of just having like projects that I do and actually have something that might generate some income, or maybe even just make an item that some of you guys might find interesting or enjoyable. Excuse me, my voice is getting dry. I'm getting kind of a cold. So that's the history behind this Inktober project. Now, if you don't know what Inktober is the month of October is to do an ink drawing every day, which I did. And they weren't all Sword and the Blue Dragon Apple Thief story pages, but the majority of them were. I also drew some comics on another dragon comic that I'm working on called Stephen Gunther. I know, right? Great name. So whatever. This is Sword and the Apple Thief. Now I only got a couple pages that I ran video on, so most of them are just going to be stills of this project. One of the things I ran to a problem with is as I was drawing this, I was using these cool pens by Pilot. They're like, I don't know, dip pens. You know, they have like that cool old-timey stylus on them, you can see. And the issue with them is they are not frickin' waterproof. And I have a whole bunch of these that I got from work. And they're not waterproof at all. So when I decided to color these in, because I wanted to use like bright primary colors, I had to be very, very careful. That's my cat Sam. He's down here right now, actually. And he's one of my studio cats. I have 3 cats that like to hang out in my studio, and they almost all hate each other. That's Sam, Ghost Rider, and Ichigo Maru. So anyways, back to my story. Man, I'm rambly. So, got to be real careful doing the colorings on these. I couldn't use Copic markers, so I went with liquid inks because I like the primary colors of them, and they kind of turn out kind of watercolory. And it's a real, I don't know, it's a real cool effect. So I hope it adds to the book, of course. And I was thinking to publish this. I'm actually going to put it out on CreateSpace through Amazon. And I'll do a video about that when I get to that point. I think it's going to be around December. I should have all the artwork completely finished up. So that's what's going on with my Inktober project. So I guess one of the other reasons why I started doing products instead of projects for things like Inktober or March of Robots and things like that is I want to try to figure out how to generate other income because I can't stand my job. So that's what I'm kind of up to. So anyways, here's my I guess the stills here from the Inktober projects. This is Sword, the little blue dragon going out, and he's like finding this evil griffin who stole the apples, who's poisoning them up so he can get rid of the dragons and basically take their stuff, make them sick and take their stuff. And then Sword gets mad at him, he burns his butt, and there you go. That's my story. So I hope you like this, my heathens. I'll give you updates when I have a book all colored. I'll show that artwork, and then I'll let you know when it's available for purchase if anyone's interested. All right, peace. Take care of each other.